next guest is the president and CEO of the organization that produces CES, among many other things that they get involved in throughout the years for this industry and for us as consumers, of CEA, the Consumer Electronics Association. Gary Shapiro, welcome back into Tomorrow. How are you, sir?
I am great now that I am on your show because the show then is complete.
Well, thank you. You say that every year, but it gives us the warm fuzzies. And thanks for having us, as always, because your show has so much to share with the world. Some 20,000 new products every year are introduced here at CES. And unfortunately, many don't even make it to market, but that's what CES is about, innovation. Sometimes things don't come through. Other times people network and come up with even better ideas to produce even better products. And it's a constant cycle of cool stuff coming out.
It is, and certainly we're seeing more of it than ever. I think what distinguishes this event from prior events is that we're seeing more different types of innovation, more different new categories. And in fact, when we were looking at our sales projections for 2014, we figured out that there'll be $6 billion in sales in 2014 of products in the United States which didn't even exist as a category a few years ago.
Wow. Things
like Ultra HD 4K, 3D printing, wearable, wireless health, and so many other things, such as drones and things like that, little robotics. Really cool stuff is shown here. And if there's one thing that's distinguished this event, it's the fact there's so many different types of products and new categories and creative people that you've been interviewing all week who have done remarkable things, innovating, coming up with new ideas.
That's true. And while there are a plethora of some products in certain categories, I mean, I don't know that I want to see another Bluetooth speaker because everybody's got them. But there's still innovation even in those kinds of categories because people are doing different things. Some are now giving you caller ID from your cell phone will pop up on a Bluetooth speaker, give you a little extra feature so that people are at least getting creative now and saying, yeah, we have another Bluetooth speaker, but now look what it does. Pretty soon it'll cook breakfast or something. But the fact is, even within those categories, there's always something fun to talk about.
Absolutely. Well, you know, there's these building blocks called micro-electromechanical systems.
Whoa.
MEMS. And what MEMS are these are sensors. And they started out when we were kids. You could only sense the temperature and the barometric pressure. And then other things happen, different bad gases in the air, or location, where we are. Or you use accelerometers. They're in smartphones and tablets now to see how fast you're going, what you're doing, the devices which help measure exercising, for example. Yeah. But there's so many different type of sensors that are being developed. In fact, for the first time ever at this show, we had a whole separate area of the show dedicated to these MEMS. But these MEMS are building blocks. And what a lot of smart entrepreneurs are doing is they're looking at the fact that there's these new products and incredibly inexpensive MEMS and putting them together in very unique ways and creating all sorts of new products that will solve problems that consumers have, whether it's losing their keys or other products, which it used to be that was solved 5 or 6 years ago, but it was very expensive.
Yeah, or they were
now
big,
it's very cheap.
Things.
Right, bulky. Yeah. You'd have to essentially replicate a smartphone in every product.
Yeah,
that's right. So now it's inexpensive. It's cheap, and it'll be increasingly common. And we're going to see so much of that, new products, variations on a theme, if you will, of people will come up with of new types of sensing devices, make them MEMS, and then all these new MEMS will be used in all sorts of different products, including speakers.
Yeah, there you go. And what's cool about that, it is like your last book title of Ninja Innovation. It is all about people doing those kinds of things, in many cases, nobody thought about, except maybe the initial folks, obviously, who then said, now look, there's a whole other market here. We cover this industry for 19 years now, and you, of course, running the organization with an awesome amount of membership and doing so many things. That is so exciting to talk about. There is never a dull moment in this business. And there's so many new things coming out on a regular basis that it makes it fun. People say, in the 19 years, have you ever gotten bored talking about that? How could you? There's so many cool things all the time.
Well, that's true. But we are at the beginning today of an innovation cycle, which I think is potentially huge. Just take one category I'm sure you've heard about, 3D printing.
Sure.
You know, last year we had 1 or 2 companies exhibiting here, and now we have over 30. And the products are being introduced in the consumers' homes, and there's over 200,000 free designs available. So you take your computer your 3D printer home. You set it up, and you can start doing things. And then, of course, you can create your own things. Imagine what that's going to do for kids with school projects, for people who want to invent something. If you want to be a jewelry designer, if you want to be a designer of any type, this is rapid prototyping. It actually allows you to sell. I mean, and it shifts manufacturing to the home environment. But it's the beginning, because right now the inputs are lower temperature plastic in a sense, or made from corn.
Yeah.
But we'll be going into organics, and in fact, people have already created a car with 3D printers. They've created prosthetic fingers for a cost of maybe $20, where a prosthetic finger might cost several $1,000s today if you don't use a 3D printer.
Yeah.
So there are, and as we get better, then you'll have food that you make in your home with 3D printers and things like that. And
kind of a la Star Trek. Just go up to the replicator and ask for that ice cream cone.
And yes, and soon, someday at a CES, maybe we'll beam each other to the CES from wherever we are, and not have to deal with the thing that hasn't seen a lot of innovation, which is air travel.
Yeah, oh boy, talk about that. And we all have to put up with that to get here and everywhere else we need to go. But I can't wait. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be in our lifetime.
Well, some would say that air travel has actually gone the opposite direction, because with a hub and spoke system, it used to be you could get direct flights where the seats were big and people were polite and it was fun flying. Now it's Sardinesville.
Yes, and it's just barely tolerable. But I can't wait so we can beam. I don't want to be the first one or two.
To be beamed up?
Yeah, because you just don't know. But when they get to the point where they can beam me to another place and I'm there with, and maybe not totally assembled, like leave 20 pounds of fat behind or something, that would be cool.
Well, I think our beaming up in our lifetime will probably be more celestial, and hopefully it won't be beaming down.
Yes, that's also true. Unbelievable. The Comeback, How Innovation Will Restore the American Dream, Gary's first book, and the Ninja Innovation, the 10 Killer Strategies of the World's Most Successful Businesses. There's a lot of input there, a lot of research and a lot of studying. Do check out his publications, as well as CE.org for the Consumer Electronics Association, and CESweb.org for all news about CES. And, of course, we'll link you to both sites when you visit us at intotomorrow.com. We'll make way now to bring even more of your exhibitors on, and thank you, Gary, for kicking off this week's broadcast from CES.
Thanks to you, Dave, and your wonderful team for being here.
It's our pleasure. We're back with more as Into Tomorrow continues from Las Vegas and the 2014 edition of the International CES. I'm Dave Graveline on the Advanced Media Network.